Hey, how's it going? The Hammer Airsoft Smith is back to show you guys how to reassemble the Mauser C96 M712 gas non-blowback airsoft pistol by HFC. Now I'm going to go over a few things real quick that I didn't get to go over before. Now you can take apart this false firing pin or piston or whatever you would like to call it further by removing this retainer. It just simply pops off. It's plastic. Looks like a screw head. It's not. See, it just comes off. And removing that black retainer pin there, and then this will come off. You just slide this back into the bolt like so. That's good. Now here's the inner barrel and the hop chamber. As I said before, it can come out, and I'll show you how to put it back. And just be careful about putting this back in, because sometimes the hop chamber will get snagged on the inside and it will pop off. So just be gentle about it and make sure everything pops into place. Okay, just put this aside. Now the trigger is pretty self-explanatory. There are like these little cutouts in here for the trigger arms, so like the little trigger arms. Right here, there's a notch. And right there is a notch. And you just take the trigger like so, and it just literally drops into there. There you go. And this trigger arm, trigger bar just kind of hangs out here. This will not be the best reassembly or assembly, whatever, of this gun, but I'm doing it the best I can within 10 minutes. Now underneath this cloth is the fully assembled skeleton frame, the internal frame that goes inside the external frame or lower receiver, whatever. It's already fully assembled. I know I cheated, but it's a real pain, and I know I'm not going to be able to fit everything in here with explanations. So I figured I'll explain the order of how I went about putting all this together. Now I said before, there's 3 parts, and you have the 2 groups. There's like a the piece that looks like this. This is the one group. There's a hinge that looks like this, a spring, and this. Take a good look now, because I'm not going to take it apart. Take a good look now, the way this looks, this pin in here. Now that's one group. On the other side, it's very similar. You got a metal piece that comes up here with the 2 prongs, or a clamp kind of style thing going on, and then you have a spring and then another pin. It's more rounded, and that goes and pushes into the scalloping of this little arm here, or whichever this would be called. My terminology for this gun is awful, but at least you guys will get an idea of how this thing goes back together. Now, you're going to see why I had to fast forward this and pre-assemble it. That's the tricky part, but a lot of that is just, it's just not the worst of it. Now, in my opinion, this is the worst of it. Okay, now we're going to put, I'm going to get there in a sec. This part obviously isn't that hard, but anyways, I'm going to put the bolt carrier and bolt assembly into the slide or upper receiver. Just kind of sit there for a second. And I'm going to explain something real quick. I said there was a plastic retainer that can break off. And if you break that off, putting this thing together and taking it apart will make things a lot easier. You don't really need it. This is where it came off from. This piece right here. You see how it's kind of like cut like a ramp now? It's because it broke off and I shaved it into a shape of a ramp. Just don't take too much off if you decide to do that. Maybe I'll do a video on not exactly how to do that. I don't know, but I'm not going to explain it now. Anyways, here's the really tricky part. You gotta line up these prong things, or clamp, or whatever, into these 2 cutouts on these sides of the bolt here, or piston or whatever. While doing so, you need to get the actual firing pin, because that's the false firing pin in there. I keep calling it a piston. You gotta get the actual firing pin to go into its channel at the rear. It's like a little square cutout, a rectangular cutout. Now, in order to do that, you need to cock the hammer slightly. And in order to cock the hammer slightly, you need to hold this spring. Because when you cock the hammer, it puts pressure there. So you only need to cock it a little bit. And on top of that, you need to do all this simultaneously. You need to line up these notches to the notches in the piston. And you need to get the hammer slightly cocked so you can put the firing pin into its channel. And on top of that, you need to make sure this ledge here locks up against here. You can kind of see where it locks up into, where the pin is worn a little bit. Alright, so let's try to do this. Now, I hold the spring in place, cock the hammer slightly, so I can get the firing pin into its channel while pushing down. There's no way I'm going to be able to show you guys this. There's just no way. But you push those prongs into its little locking lug area that I pointed out earlier to the false firing pin. Okay, and then you gotta shimmy this around so it locks. You hear that click? That means everything is locked into place. Everything's where it needs to be, for the most part. I think the firing pin actually is not where it's supposed to be. I'm going off camera a little bit, only because I cannot see. There we go. It's through. As you can see, it's right there. And everything is locked into place. You're not going to be able to see it, obviously, because it's all covered. Now this part right here is a real pain as well. Now you got to make sure all this is together. Keep it together the best you can. You know what really sucks is when you put all this back together and find out it doesn't work. But anyways, there goes the trigger. You gotta hate gravity. Alright, Junior, start cooperating. Alright, so you're gonna slide, pretty much just slide onto the frame with the grooves. Pretty much the same way you took it off. Slide it together, and once you get to the very ends, like right here, that's when you put your safety in. Now you'll get to here and it'll get stuck. So you gotta like move the trigger around. This I do not have down to a T. I have not mastered this part right here. But you need to move the trigger around to a point. Sometimes turning the gun upside down while keeping everything together. Sometimes turning the gun upside down, then kind of moving it back down again will lock it down. There we go. And to kind of give you an idea, you got to make that trigger bar in there so you can see right through. Now I'm going to do this real quick here. Oh, there goes my pointer. But you'll see in there there's that trigger bar. Do this very carefully. There's a trigger bar in there, and as long as it's pointing up, you're good to go. Then you put your false firing selector switch in. You take your retaining screw, reassemble that. Come on, don't be a pain. Okay, now we're gonna give it a little quick test. Put the magazine in, no BBs, no gas. Double action, single action. See, everything works fine. Alright everybody, thanks a lot for watching. I really hope this was helpful. I really hope, because I don't want to redo this ever. Unless it's my own time. Alright, see you guys later.